In this video, we'll be talking about overcoming multiple sclerosis through diet, including how to beat MS naturally, like in a big way. So stay tuned because I'm really excited about our guest that we have today, and I'll tell you about her in a second. Also, stick around because there's going to be some great tips. So I'm Jenn DeTracey from Women Thriving with MS. This is a series called Leading Change for MS, featuring inspiring people that are sharing insights and expertise on how to manage multiple sclerosis and improve your life from the inside out. Remember, you can subscribe below if you're new here to this channel. Our guest is Jenn Martin. And Jenn was diagnosed with MS when she was 17 years of age. That's 33 years ago. And in 2017, she had a big relapse, and there was no medication on the market to treat her secondary progressive MS. She decided to take control of her health and manage her MS systems naturally. And in less than 3 months, she reversed her chronic fatigue and is now living a life of health and wellness. Just to note, Jenn has become a master certified holistic health and wellness coach, and she is known as the MS Wellness Coach on social media, sharing some hot tips. So stick around for the entire interview, and please welcome Jenn Martin. Hi, Jenn.
Hi, guys. Yes, thank you, Jenn. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you know, it's a great pleasure to have you here today, and I've really enjoyed so far getting to know you while we've been discussing what we're going to talk about in this interview. And because you were diagnosed with MS at the age of 17, which is like quite young, right? How did that impact your life? Tell us a bit about your story back in the early days.
Well, of course, you know, in the 80s, MS wasn't really well known then, and we didn't have the internet, so the only thing that we could go by is by the word of my doctor. And at first, you know, of course, I was in denial and didn't accept that that's what I had and was diagnosed with. But, you know, soon after I was diagnosed, my doctor mentioned to me that one of the best ways to learn more about it and get connected with others that have MS is to go to an in-person support group. And so my mom and I began to go to different MS support groups and hear their story and, you know, connect with them. And after we started going, we totally related to what they were saying. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. It was so wonderful.
How did that change things for you to know that you were not alone?
Oh gosh. Well, you know, of course, you know, learning from other people what they've gone through and what they've done to improve, you know, their symptoms or what they're experiencing. I tried it too to see if that helped. And of course, being that I was younger, you know, much younger when I was diagnosed, it was easier to bounce back through the attacks and whatnot. So, and then of course, the medications that they were using at the time helped pull me out of those attacks, which was great. But you know, it really altered life as I knew it.
Yes. And so there you were, a young person with this challenge, but then you had this pivotal time in your life where you had this relapse in 2017. And that sounds like that was a real shakeup in so many ways in your life. Can you talk a little bit about some of the side effects you had as a result of that relapse and how that kind of changed from relapse remitting MS to secondary progressive, because that's a jump and a lot of people have fears and worries around progression to do with MS.
Yeah, so that I've had, you know, remitting, relapsing, RRMS for majority of my life. I don't know life without MS really. Remitting, relapsing is where, you know, you get treated with the medication and then it goes back into remission and you can live life, you know, very fully. Whereas when I was experiencing a huge onset in November of 2017, out of the blue came chronic fatigue. And I was finding that in the earlier stages of it, I was noticing it was really hard to get up to go to work. My body felt really heavy. I almost felt like a boulder that was stuck to my mattress. Shortly after that, I started developing migraine headaches, never had them before. Then slowly after that, I was developing brain fog. I couldn't remember how to do my job that I've been doing since 2011. I was a trainer, a mentor, a coach, for new employees. When I started forgetting how to do my job or where to go to find the information, and then on top of getting harder and harder to get out of bed, my hand started getting tingly. It started crawling up my arm. So that's when I knew that, all of these symptoms that were coming about seemed to be multiplying, just in short segments. At the time, I didn't put two and two together that it was actually my MS. I thought it was stress from losing my mom and then going back into work in a very toxic environment. So I just thought it was those elements that were causing all of this, not really thinking that it was my MS. So
Right.
yeah, it was it was very scary.
What helped you turn that ship around in the beginning? I know one thing that we talked about was doing a diary, but before we get to that, was there something else that you started doing prior to diaritizing your situation?
Well, yeah. So to go back a little bit, so when my neurologist did, MRIs, obviously to compare, current state to a previous MRI, he was looking to see if there was new lesions, whether if it was on my brain or my spine, and he was also looking to see if there was any old active lesions. Of course, they didn't find any, so he honestly didn't believe that it was active MS at the time. When they did, the bouts of treatment that they would normally do when I was in remitting relapsing, and the two treatments didn't do anything, nothing changed. That's when he had told me that the MS had progressed to secondary progressive MS, which is also SPMS. At the time, he told me that there really are no medications on the market to help me. I kind of fell into a gray area that really left me feeling hopeless, and it left me feeling alone and really scared and in a whole new world of symptoms that I didn't know what to expect or if it was going to get better at all.
Yeah, it's like a big cesspool or black hole, right?
Yes.
So what happened next? How did you take steps to move forward? What was the first thing that came to mind for you about turning your life around in this craziness of your situation?
So knowing that this chronic fatigue and all of the symptoms that I was experiencing was over a year and a half long, when they kept saying that there was no help, there was no treatment, I thought to myself, I am not going to let MS beat me. It does not have me. It is not going to define my life. And so I knew that I had to take action on my own. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I let the universe speak to me. And the first thing that was guided to me was to research different diets for MS. And I've discovered a lot of them out there, and I had to choose one that resonated with me.
When you were making that choice around which diet, and I know you don't like to use the word diet, we'll talk about that in a minute because it has certain connotations to it. When you were doing that research around diet, what were you gravitating towards initially?
So after I had researched a lot of information about different MS diets out there, the one thing that really resonated with me, and that the biggest impact that it would make for me for transformational change, was to switch to a clean, organic, whole foods diet, which is plant-based, cutting out processed sugars, dairy, gluten, all kinds of different things that causes inflammation in the body.
And inflammation seems to be a real trigger for MS. What else can you say about that, out of curiosity?
Inflammation is really the cause, and poor gut health is really the cause of majority of the chronic illnesses that you see today. including MS. We're no different. Any autoimmune disorder, any chronic illness, when you have poor gut health, you have bacteria and you have candida, which is like yeast that's overextended in your system. And so what happens is that causes inflammation in the body, and that inflammation wreaks havoc on our bodies. And it comes out in different symptoms, whether if it's bloating or headache or fatigue, whatever it may be.
So you started off with that, and talk about this concept that you said to me about diet, that you don't like that word. What do you like to replace the word diet with instead of MS diet? What would you describe as maybe a different way to express that process?
A lot of people, when they think of diet, they think of like Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers or, some popular short-term diet that you go on to lose maybe a quick 10, 15, 20 pounds. But when you're looking at healing the body from the inside out, what you're really doing is you're doing a lifestyle change. And so that encompasses, the different foods and the products that you put inside your body. And so instead of calling it a diet, I call it a lifestyle change because it's going to lead for lifelong transformation.
When you found the diet that was working, or the lifestyle change that was working for your body in terms of what kind of foods you were putting in, you had 3 months or something that you noticed that the chronic fatigue was reversed. Can you talk about that a little bit? That's phenomenal.
Yeah. For as sick as I was and for how fast I turned everything around was pretty remarkable. When I started my health and wellness journey was January 1st of 2019. And I started with obviously, changing, what I was eating and the food products that I was putting in my body. In about a month, 30 days, I had noticed that I was increasing my energy already. I was feeling good enough to where I actually got out of my wheelchair and went on a hike with my daughter. And it just felt really good to reconnect with nature and just get grounded again. And it was wonderful. Obviously, the longer that you are eating healthier and you're implementing all of this healthy lifestyle, you're going to see results. And so I would say that within that 3-month mark, I had completely reversed what I was feeling from that chronic fatigue, sleeping up to 20 hours a day. And I was pretty much back to living life like normal, like nothing had ever happened.
And what would that normal look like? Describe that so that people understand what that normal would be for you.
Well, normal is where you can get up, you feel, great, you feel refreshed, you feel rejuvenated in the morning, you're not dragging to get out of bed, just going out and soaking up the sun, going for a walk, getting ready for work, living life as normal before the diagnosis of MS, living life to the fullest, having all that energy and feeling like you, can think clearly and can focus and just living life fully.
Thank you for sharing that. So at what point did this diary that you started writing come into the picture? Did that start, I know like it was back in time before 2017, right? Because your book came out when? When did your book?
So my book, Blue Fingers, Brass Knuckles.
You want to bring it up on?
Yeah.
Show it to everyone.
So, yeah.
Blue Fingers, Brass Knuckles.
Yeah. The Power of Faith, Courage, and Love.
Yes.
And it is, so this actually started off as a diary, as a journal. And I started that for my daughter. I wanted her to know who her mom was in case something happened to me, that I was no longer here. So I wrote about, my ups and downs, my trials and tribulations with this monster of a disease. And it took me about 8 years in the making to, write everything that I had gone through and that I wanted to accomplish And finally, after about the 8th year, I had shared with my friends and family that I had written a diary and wanted them to know a little bit more about me and what I've gone through. And so when I shared it with them, they read maybe the first chapter or just, whatever I had put together. And they said, Jen, you cannot leave this to just your daughter or whoever wants to read this. You can help so many people with this book. I never really thought that I was going to have a book at all, but it ends up that I decided to do that because I didn't want to keep what I went through, for my own health and wellness journey. And one of the things that you'll see on here is, the power of inspiration. And so that is what I do is I help people, I inspire them, I give them motivation, and I help them in some way, shape, or form. And so that's when I decided to, self-publish just to see if I can help even one person make a difference in their life. And so in 2010 is when this book was published.
Fantastic. So in the title, there's the word faith, courage, and love. That sounds like that had a positive impact on your life. Let's talk about faith and MS specifically in this case, even though the book is about more than just MS.
Well, you have to have faith. You have to know that there's a higher being, there's a universe out there that, can answer your prayers, your wishes. And so I had to have faith knowing that I would be okay. And my courage was because I had to fight through everything and all the punches that MS was throwing at me and all the other health challenges that I, have endured in my life. And so that's kind of where, the title of the book is, because you'll see blue fingers is in blue and the brass knuckles represents fighting. So, when I talk about having faith, you have to have, a higher thought process besides yourself, something that can help answer your questions and your prayers. And then love, you have to have love for yourself. You have to have compassion for yourself and for others around you. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know exactly, the symptoms that you're experiencing. And so having compassion and love for others and trying to explain what you're going through, what I was going through. And then that in turn brings back love to me. So, there's so many ways that you can, get from that.
Absolutely. So faith, love, and courage, and inspiration. Now, you signed up for a program, a wellness program for yourself. And I remember when we were talking, you said that you were doing research to try and figure out what would be best for you.
Started doing research about how to move forward with healing naturally. And that started in pretty much like November, December of 2018. And so I had begun the process of researching. Then January 1st, obviously, is when I had started implementing, what I had learned. And then at the end of January is when I had found a program about holistic healing just for myself. And I started that, I think at the beginning of February of 2019.
And that's when you noticed the diet change that you noticed by making those changes, that's when the chronic fatigue started to dissipate?
Well, it helped more. So, okay. Being that I had started the process in January already.
Yeah.
And so by the time I really started the program, I was already about 30 days into my health and wellness journey, and I had already started feeling better. So by the time that I actually started this program, I was wanting, and I signed up for it because I wanted to learn everything that I could to help myself. And so the program is with the International Association of Wellness Professionals, IAWP for short. And, this program is really to learn how to be a health and wellness coach. But at the time, I wasn't really thinking about coach. I'm thinking about how can I help myself? What can I learn from this program overall to help me? I was pretty desperate. I needed to find the answers, and I needed to find them quick.
Absolutely. So, and then you as part of this program, you needed to have other people for your certification, right? So you had
Yes.
to approach other people and say, hey, I'm doing this program and I need other people to go through it. And what happened when you started to work with other people? What was happening to them as they went through this process? Maybe tell us a story of one of the clients that you worked with when you were training.
Yeah. So, to develop the program of what I, implemented on the people that worked with me, my clients. And so during that process of elimination, I had developed what I now call the MS Energy Blueprint. And so, for example, the people that I worked with, because my niche is working with people with MS, what I found was that most of the women were noticing that they thought that they were eating healthy. They thought that they were doing good as far as diet goes. But when I actually showed them and guided them on the different types of foods that they need to eat, to actually nourish their bodies, once they started implementing this, they noticed a difference almost right away. And usually they would work with me for about a total of 90 days, which is how I transformed myself. And so I wanted to show them how they could do it too. They not only felt better, increased their energy during that time, and then by the 90th day, by the end of the program, they completely transformed their energy as well. They noticed that brain fog had dissipated. They were able to concentrate better. And actually, a lot of them hadn't worked out or exercised in years because of the MS and the challenges that come along with it. When I guided them on different exercises that they could do that are very simple to do and have, an impact on the body of the health and the well-being, they really now are able to implement doing exercises, and it makes such a huge difference, not only physically but mentally. So there was a lot of different steps that I took them through, and by the end of it, they really experienced transformation.
So let's just recap. So it's about the food that they were eating. It was about the exercise that they were doing. And one of the other areas is mindset. Maybe you can just describe very briefly mindset, and then let's talk about some tips, some very simple tips that people right here that are watching this now can start to implement right away around mindset.
Mindset is really about either thinking positively to help propel you forward, or you can stay in that mindset that you currently have where you feel stuck and you're not moving anywhere. You're kind of stagnant. So for me, mindset was really about, I'm not going to stay where I was. I want to get better. I want to heal. And so I changed my thought process, is really what it is about. I can do this. I will research everything that I can to make myself better. And I will do whatever it takes to get healthy and well again.
So let's recap that. So positive attitude, researching to get better, and lastly, do whatever you can to make it happen. So
Yes.
You're obviously a very driven person. And, I think a lot of women and people with MS are, driven people. That's kind of what I found. It's very interesting. But then when the diagnosis happens, it sets people back, and then they get stuck. So what are 3 ways that someone could focus on the mindset, that positive mindset? What are 3 tips that you could recommend?
Yeah. So one of the things that really helps me is, well, there's actually 3 things, but the first and foremost is I love anything that I can find that's inspirational, that, kind of lifts my mood. So I research different quotes. I also look for and read daily affirmations in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon, just to keep me going.
Yeah, where can people find these, Jen? Like, it's great. You obviously had the motivation to research it. Where could someone find a daily quote that's positive? What how would they look for that in a way that was easy and fast for them?
Oh, yeah. So Google is a great tool, right? So anybody can research, daily affirmation or positive quotes, through Google or Yahoo or something like that. And, the other thing too is having an attitude of gratitude is really what really got me out of that stuck place. And I know that even though I was sick, was sleeping a lot, I had brain fog, I was experiencing all of these symptoms, but yet I still had an attitude of gratitude because I know that I was going to be all right. And I knew that the answers were going to come to me, and they did.
So an attitude of gratitude, one of the things that I've done in the past, and I do, especially when I'm if I'm struggling in some way, is I have a gratitude journal, and I'll write down anywhere from one thing of gratitude to 5 things of gratitude, whatever I can think of in that moment, and do it daily. What was your approach to really putting a magnifying glass on gratitude? What did you do?
I started off with just, like a 3-ring binder or whatever, or just like a little notepad, and I kept it next to my bed. Because I'm so used to journaling, from bed when I was really sick. So in the morning, I would start off my day with writing down 3 things that I was grateful for. And even though I'm sick and I was experiencing all these symptoms, I was still grateful to be alive. And I was still grateful to know that I was going to be okay and that the answers that I need are going to come to me. So I just wrote down everything that I was grateful for in the morning. And that really helped propel my day and start my day off on the right foot. And then I would end my day with also expressing gratitude and, just saying what went well through my day, what could I have done to improve my day, and, what could I set myself up for tomorrow that would make it even better.
So what went well today? Okay, what I could have done to make it better? What can I do to set myself up for better tomorrow? Wow, like great tips, because even if you're watching this and you apply one of these things to your life, and you can get into a consistent habit of it on a daily basis, that can be the beginning of significant change, right? It's that willingness to step in and change. Now, before we wrap up here today, let's just talk about, okay, so you completed the certification, you helped a pile of people living with MS, they saw improvements, and then you decided to step up your game and go into the master's program. And what propelled you to do that?
I learned so much from the certification that I knew then that I wanted to do coaching for my career. And so I thought I have to be the best that I can be. And so I enrolled in the master certification portion. And that was a really long, grueling process, but I'm really glad that I did it, because now I am much more confident and my skill set is really honed in now. And I know that helping other women, specifically with MS, I know that I can make a huge difference and a huge impact on their life, and I can help them transform their lives just like I did mine.
Absolutely. An amen to that.
Yes.
How can people find you online? What is your website address, Jenn? Jenn Martin.
Thank you. So I'm known as the MS Wellness Coach, but my website is mswellnesscoach.com. And if you just research, on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you can find me through the MS Wellness Coach.
So the MS Wellness Coach through social media. And again, the website address is?
mswellnesscoach.com.
All right. Well, it has been a real pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much, Jenn, for sharing your story and your experience and how you transformed your own life and how you're helping others transform theirs. I really appreciate it, and it's been an honor to have you on board. Thank you, Jenn Martin. So remember, If you're watching this video, to subscribe below, write comments, and look at the links underneath for Jenn Martin's information, and we'll see you again soon.